The first time I heard my mother call my name from the old hallway, I was standing alone in the kitchen, staring at the cracked tiles where her blood had once pooled before the ambulance came too late, and the voice sounded so real warm, tired, loving that my knees nearly gave out, because my mother had been dead for 7 years and the house had been silent for most of them, or at least I thought it had, until that night when the voice returned, perfectly mimicking the way she used to stretch the last syllable of my name when she wanted me to come quickly. And I remember whispering, "Mum," even though every instinct screamed at me not to answer, because deep down I knew something was wrong, something ancient and patient, something that had learned her voice the way a predator learns the habits of its prey. And as I stepped into the hallway, the air grew colder, thick like wet cloth pressed against my lungs, and the lights flickered in a rhythm that felt deliberate, almost playful, as if the house itself was breathing, listening, waiting for my response. I told myself it was stress, grief resurfacing, the mind replaying old memories, but then the voice spoke again, closer this time, repeating a phrase only she used to say, "Don't make me come get you," and that was when terror truly set in, because memory alone could not know tone, timing, intention, the subtle hitch in her breath that always came after long days. And as the voice echoed through the hall, I noticed something else, something I had never noticed before. The walls were covered in faint scratches, thin and overlapping like someone had been counting time with their fingernails, and when I brushed my hand against them, they felt warm, almost alive, and suddenly the voice changed, slipping seamlessly into my father's voice, then my sister's laughter, then my own voice whispering things I had never said aloud, confessions I had buried so deeply I had almost forgotten them myself. And that was when I realized the truth I had tried to ignore. The ghost did not simply mimic voices. It fed on them, learned them, collected them, and the house was not haunted by the dead but by something far worse, something that survived by becoming what you trusted most. I ran back into the kitchen, slamming the door behind me, but the voices followed, bleeding through the walls, overlapping, harmonizing into a sickening chorus that made my head throb and my vision blur. And in that chaos I remembered the old journal my grandmother had kept, the one filled with warnings she wrote after moving into this house decades ago, the one I had dismissed as superstition, and with shaking hands I pulled it from the drawer where I had hidden it, flipping through brittle pages until I found the passage I had always avoided, the one where she described the echo, a thing that arrived quietly, listening, learning, waiting for grief, because grief made voices easier to steal. And as I read her words, the lights went out completely and the house fell into a suffocating darkness, broken only by whispers crawling along the walls, whispering my name, whispering promises, whispering threats, whispering in voices of people I loved and voices of people I had hurt. And when I looked up from the journal, I saw it standing at the end of the hallway, not a ghost as I had imagined, not a pale figure or a floating shadow, but something tall and thin, its body folding in on itself like wet paper, its face a shifting blur of stolen features that rearranged themselves every time it spoke. And when it opened its mouth, my mother's voice poured out again, begging me to come closer, telling me she was lonely, that she was cold. And for one horrible moment I wanted to believe it, wanted to step forward and let the lie wrap around me, because grief is a powerful hunger and the echo knew exactly how to feed it. But then it made a mistake. It spoke in my grandmother's voice, repeating the final warning she had written before she disappeared. And I realized the echo could only mimic what it had already taken, and if it had her voice, then it had taken her too. Rage burned through my fear, sharp and blinding, and I shouted at it, telling it I knew what it was, that it couldn't have me. And the voices faltered for the first time, the chorus breaking into dissonant fragments as if the creature was struggling to hold itself together. And in that moment of weakness, I did the only thing the journal said might work. I began to speak the truth out loud, every truth I had hidden, every guilt, every fear, every memory I had tried to bury, flooding the air with my own unfiltered voice, because the echo thrived on imitation, not originality. And as my words filled the house, the creature recoiled its stolen faces, melting away, replaced by a blank screaming void, and it lunged at me in a last desperate attempt to steal my voice too. But I kept talking, screaming, crying, confessing, until my throat burned and my voice cracked. And with a sound like glass shattering underwater, the echo collapsed inward, folding into itself until it was nothing more than a smear of darkness soaked into the floorboards. And when the sun finally rose, the house was silent again, truly silent, the scratches gone, the air warm and still. And I thought it was over. I thought I had won. Until weeks later, after I had moved away and tried to rebuild my life, I received a voicemail from an unknown number, and when I pressed play, I heard my own voice whisper my name back to me, perfectly, lovingly, patiently, as if it had been practicing, waiting for me to listen again.